Comparison is the thief of joy and the thief of good movies. Let's play a quick game. Can you guess just how many times Moana 2 references the first film?
You'll board my boat and restore the heart of Tafiti.
We don't want the pork getting cold. Ooh, I don't even know how far it is.
Farther than I was able to go.
The only thing that these references accomplish is cheapening their use in the first film and just making me wish that I was watching the first film instead of this garbage. For those of you who don't know, Moana 2 was originally supposed to be a series released on Disney+. But then for some reason, I assume financial trouble, Disney decided to remake the whole thing into a feature-length film, and they were hoping that nobody would notice. We noticed. So today you guys get to watch me get tortured as I go through this shitty film. Now without any further ado, let's get right into the video. Moana is no longer a compelling protagonist. In the first film, she had this inner urge to go out and explore the world. And when she finally gets the chance to do so, it's because she has to go save the world. She has the weight of the world on her shoulders and she has some self-doubt. She has some internal struggle. Moana in the first film is relatable. But in this one, bro, she's just a badass with a mission. She's no longer this compelling character with some internal struggle to deal with that people can actually identify with. In this film, Moana just feels like this awesome character who can do anything. Not only was she struggling with self-doubt in the first film, but she also had to learn wayfinding in that first film. She had to learn and grow as time went on. But in this one, from beginning to end, Moana doesn't actually learn anything. And yeah, I know some of you are gonna point out Matangi's song and whatnot. We'll get to that. But throughout the whole film, Moana doesn't undergo any form of personal growth. She stays exactly the same. Like I said, she's literally just a badass with a mission. And that doesn't make her any form of relatable. She has the weight of the world on her shoulders and she's just chill. She can do this. She got this. Like, do you remember that one time in your life where it felt like you had the weight of the world on your shoulders and you didn't doubt yourself? Like, you didn't doubt your abilities. You didn't have to learn anything new in order to accomplish your goals. You were just like, nigga, I got this. This just results in a main character that you can't really care about or feel for because there's literally nothing to relate with. And fans of the original film might think that, no, Moana is Moana and I love the character. Yeah, no, in this film, Moana is no longer actually Moana. For example, in the first film, Moana was creative, quick thinking, and adventurous. But in this one, it kind of feels like a fucked up version of Schrodinger's cat, where she both is the same character that she was in the previous film and isn't the same character that she was in the previous film. And only by watching the film will you realize somehow she's both. And I think there's actually no better way of illustrating this than that entire scene with Matangi. When Moana is with Matangi and they sing the whole get lost thing, at some point Moana essentially says that wayfinding is knowing where you're going. But no, in the beginning of the film, Moana is on an island that she's never been on before. She's looking for other people. Fundamentally, that means that she's not going to places that she knows. And even if you think about the first film, Maui says in the line that the ocean used to love it when he would raise islands because her ancestors would go out and discover them. Fundamentally, that just means that wayfinding is not knowing where you're going. It's discovering new lands and places by, as Matangi puts it, getting lost. How did Moana's perception of wayfinding get warped so quickly? Like, I know some people are gonna be like, it's been 3 years since the last film, maybe things have changed, but no. In the beginning of the film, she's still going out and discovering new land and new places. If Tata Ivasa hadn't come to Moana and said go here, she would just sail around the sea looking for more islands. That is not knowing where you're going. That's exploration and discovery. And then there's also the advice that Matangi gives Moana. She tells Moana to get lost, feel comfortable with living dangerously. Is this a lesson that Moana, of all people, needs to learn? Let me just catalog some of the things that she did in the first film. Grabbed a boat, managed to make it past the reef, but then almost died. Grabs a boat again just a couple of hours later and is fully prepared to go face a lava monster. Granted, she was expecting to face it with Maui. But then when Maui dips, does Moana turn back? No. She goes back to face the lava monster on her own. No powers, no nothing. Is this the kind of person that really needs to learn the lesson of be bold, live dangerously, get lost? No, it's not. Moana is already the kind of person to take risks. She's the type of person to live dangerously, as Matangi put it. She doesn't need to learn this lesson. And even when you think of the moment where it seems like Matangi's advice actually helped Moana, Let's actually pause and think about this. In that moment, what exactly happened? Maui lost his power, so he could no longer raise the island, and Moana came up with a very creative idea to actually just swim all the way down to the island. And so in this moment, what actually happened wasn't Moana deciding to get lost, live dangerously. It was Moana coming up with a brilliant idea, similar to the idea she came up with to get past Taka during the first film. This creativity is what actually helped Moana. It wasn't her deciding to live dangerously and get lost. If you think about it, if you remove Matangi from the film, the moment Moana comes up with the idea of just swimming down to the island, she's not just gonna stand there and not do it. She's gonna swim all the way down there. Matangi's advice was useless. She didn't actually do anything. She didn't contribute anything. And yet they want to frame it as if Moana wouldn't have done this if it weren't for Matangi. And let's just imagine for a minute that Matangi's advice actually was helpful, actually was useful. So what you're saying is that because Matangi told Moana to get lost, Moana decided to swim to the bottom of the ocean to touch the island. Okay. So why is Moana there? What you're saying is that Moana wouldn't have been able to do this without Matangi. So why is Moana the chosen one? What about her makes her the only person who could have done this? In the first film, her ingenuity, her adventurous spirit, and her compassion are what made Moana the person for the job. But here, what you're telling me is that she still would not have been able to do it without Matangi's advice. Which for me just frames this whole thing as less of a win for Moana and more to say that Matangi was right. Which doesn't really explain to me exactly why Moana is the person who has to save the world. Matangi could have given this piece of advice to anybody in the world. I also find it so weird that they're saying that Moana wouldn't have come up with the idea if it weren't for Matangi, but literally 10 minutes before that she comes up with the brilliant idea of having the human serve as a distraction for Nalo while Maui raises the island. The film just doesn't make sense to me. It's like her actions say that she's still the same Moana that she was in the previous film, but they're still trying to say to us that no, she's not. It's just so weird, it makes no sense and just leaves me confused. And the worst part about all of this is that somehow, despite everything I've said, Moana was still treated better than Maui was. I want you guys to sit down for this next part, because this might actually shock you. Maui is actually useless in this film. He doesn't do anything. In the first film, Maui does two things off the top of my head. He teaches Moana wayfinding, and he's the reason that Moana could tell that Taka is Te Fiti. Literally, without Maui, Moana can't do shit in the first film. But here, he doesn't do anything. He spends most of the film in the clan where Matangi was holding him, and when he finally does meet up with Moana, the idea that they come up with is that Maui raises the island, and then Moana and the gang step on it. But that never happens. Maui only raises the island after Moana has already broken the curse. Sure, you could say that the island needed to be raised, but if stepping on it breaks the curse, that should mean that if Maui weren't in the film, simply by touching the island like she did, Moana would have been able to, from that point on, find other people. Without Maui, literally the only thing that's different is that the island isn't raised, but everything else stays exactly the same. Maui's role in the story has literally been reduced to the guy who worries about Moana. And even then, he's unbelievably inconsistent. From the moment we first see Maui in this film, he says one thing: I want Moana away from this. I want her safe. But then the storyteller dude almost dies. And you would think that Maui would go, turn back. You're not supposed to be here. And then somebody would need to convince him. But no, like literally just after the storyteller dude almost dies, he walks up to Moana and is like, you got this! Bro, what? You've been saying for the past God knows how long that you don't want Moana near this. But now that somebody has almost died, you're going like, yeah, you know what? I actually want you here. Make it make sense. I feel like so much of this film is just missing. And that's definitely as a result of the fact that they squeezed it into a feature-length film instead of just making the whole series. Because why the hell did Maui change his mind so quickly when nobody was trying to change it? And Maui and Moana aren't the only characters suffering from the fact that so much of this story was just cut. For example, the villain. Do you know exactly how you make a very compelling villain that strikes fear in the hearts of many, that goes on to become a legend? Make sure that almost nobody sees the nigga's face, because most people don't watch the end credit scene. The post-credit or mid-credit scene is literally the only time that we see Nalo's face. And at this point in time, literally nobody cares. You are not intimidated by the villain who just got his ass beat. And one more thing that makes Nalo such a compelling villain is the fact that we don't know why the fuck he's doing what he's doing. They say that Nalo wants everyone separate. I bet. Why? He wanted to gain power because they call him power hungry. He's power hungry. Okay? How does separating everyone gain him power? Because they're separate. Okay? What does he do with his newfound power? You get my point? Nalo makes no sense. His motivation makes no sense. He wants the people separate so that he can have more power. But how does people being together make him lose power? Like, was there a point in time thousands of years ago where people were starting to rebel against the gods and gain some godly power for themselves? And if so, why not explain that? Because now it's like he wanted more power. But how does people being separate gain him power? And even then, when he gains the power, he does jack shit for thousands of years. He just makes no sense as a villain. He just seems like an idiot with power. For most of the film, whenever I would see Nalo, the only thing that would pop in my head is that like, oh, that cloud kind of looks like the Zeus from Rick and Morty. If you couldn't tell, I didn't find that guy intimidating either. And then lastly, we have the side characters. You know, I'm actually getting so sick of asking why. But guys, why the hell does she need a team? Why the hell does she have one? They are so useless that I can bet that not a single one of you, okay, maybe one crazy idiot out there, but most of you have no idea what any of their names are. None. I watched this film 4 times, and the only person whose name I know is Moni. I think it's Moni. And then there's the boat girl, and then there's the farmer. I think Moana calls him the farmer for the entire film. I may be wrong about that, but dude, I wouldn't be shocked if I was right. These guys literally do nothing throughout the entire journey. In fact, I would argue that at certain points, they actually hurt Moana's progress more than they helped. The only time, the one freaking time where it actually felt like, yeah, a crew member was helpful is when the boat girl comes up with a new design to dodge the tornadoes during the fight with Nalo. Otherwise, throughout the entire film, this gaggle of idiots just feels useless. But Z, what about the time that the storyteller dude translated the coconut language? Yeah, no, did he actually help? Because I feel like Moana could have just figured it out on her own, because she does actually seem to understand them. And the thing that makes it even worse is that later in the film, the old man says,
"That one's his. I now speak Kakamura."
It just kind of seems like the skill of understanding this coconut language is not exclusive to the storyteller in the group. So yeah, no, he's not actually necessary in Moana's journey. The entire thing just feels like this is Moana's journey and they're coming along for the ride. It's not them as a group journeying to save the world. And I know they have that nice song where they sing about coming together and whatnot. But like I said in my K-pop Demon Hunter video, it takes more than a cute song and dance sequence for the audience to feel the chemistry between different characters. So yeah, no. The side characters in this story should have been scrapped the moment they decided to make this thing into a film. Alright, so the songs of this film, the first 2 are completely forgettable. Part of it is because they serve no narrative purpose. In the first Moana, How Far I'll Go and Where You Are establish Moana as a character and serve as a way for us to see and understand the views of the village. But here, it just kind of feels like they were sitting in a room going, okay, we need to have songs here because the audience will want a song here. The songs feel like fan service, man. I've already spoken about the song Nothing Better Than This, but one thing I want to point out is the fast talking at some point in the song. Because for me, it just reminded me of the same kind of fast talking that you have in the song We Don't Talk About Bruno. Overall, the songs in this film just kind of feel like Lin-Manuel Miranda knockoffs. Eesh. It kind of reminds me of a video that Shafrilas made. I'm just gonna assume that everybody here knows who Shafrilas is because there is no way in hell you found my video, but you don't know who Shafrilas is. But the guy essentially made a video talking about how it feels like a lot of modern Disney songwriters I'm just trying to emulate what Link does. I cannot go into nearly as much depth as he did when it comes to that topic, so I would definitely recommend checking out his video when you're done with this. One song that I actually like is Get Lost. It's fun, energetic, and actually quite entertaining to listen to. But it still feels like a waste of time. Matangi feels like a very irrelevant character who's literally just a pit stop for the gang before they go off to the island. I feel like they wanted a Tamatoa situation where people just love the minor villain in the story, but they completely forgot that with Tamatoa, he was a necessary pit stop. They needed to get Maui's fishhook. But with Matangi, there was literally no reason for them to be there. You could just cut the clam out of the equation and just have people sail to the island. The second song that I actually loved quite a bit is Maui's song. But once again, the story killed this song. His quick switch from wanting Moana to stay the hell away to wanting her to save the world had me sitting there like, what the fuck, bro? But I enjoyed the song enough that I wanted to add it to my playlist, but in the end, I just had too much self-respect to look up this film soundtrack. Okay, lastly, I want to bring up the thing that I've been touching on here and there. The plot and overall story. Firstly, can somebody... I feel like I've been asking, can somebody please explain to me so many times in this video? Like, I don't understand half of what went on in this movie, even though I watched it 4 times. But can somebody please explain to me, why the hell is Moana on this journey? Tata Ivasa showed up to Moana and said that in isolation, the island will be lost or everyone will die. Though it wasn't actually clear what she was saying, just that bad shit's gonna go down. But regardless, haven't they been on the island for like 1,000 years? Like, bro, haven't you been dead for 1,000 years? They spent so much time in isolation, they had time to forget your existence, nigga. You are telling me that now, all of a sudden, there is a time crunch? Like, after 1,000 years, at least, now all of a sudden there's a time crunch. Yeah, I call bullshit, man. And on top of that, there's no clarification as to what will happen to the island in isolation and why. Like in the first film, you can clearly see that the darkness is eating up the island and destroying their environment. But here, I'm not seeing any immediate consequence of choosing to not go on this journey. So it just had me sitting there like, this guy is trying to give the film a sense of urgency, but you've been dead for 1,000 years? It kind of just feels like Moana could take all the time in the world doing this and all will be well. Also, so much of the stuff in this film just happens. Moana is told by Tata Vasa to go save the world. Wait, is it actually even in trouble? No, but she has to go save it anyways. Moana is told by her mom that she needs a crew. Wait, does she actually? Who cares? Now she's just going on picking the most random ass niggas she could find. Except the boat girl, she was actually quite useful. Maui then loses his powers! Oh, wait, no. As soon as he touches his fishhook, the powers are restored. So it doesn't even matter. Oh damn! Moana gets some new powers. Oh wait, they don't actually explain visually or through exposition what she can now do as a demigoddess or even how the ancestors managed to give her powers. Because when Maui got powers, he had to get them from fucking gods. So much stuff in this film just happens and you're never really given time to sit and appreciate or understand any of it. Because half of it doesn't make sense, and the other half is rushed as all hell. But hey, at least this film is funny, right? Here are the 4 moments in this film where I actually laughed.
Could have told me we're doing new outfits. Been rocking leaves on my cheeks for 1,000 years.
The ancestors wouldn't have called if we couldn't do this.
Unless it was a butt dial.
Hey, I'm an elder!
And I'm 3,000 years old.
Maui!
Moana bees.
The worst part about that is, this film is constantly trying to make you laugh. Although, there is one moment in this film that always has me laughing my ass off. And the worst part, or the best part about it is, they weren't trying to have this be funny. And that's the final song that's played in this film. I think it was How Far I'll Go. They wanted it to be this nice moment where the fans of the original are like, heck yeah, that was awesome. But it ends up being like, yeah, I should have just been watching the first Moana. But honestly, in a weird way, that song is kind of the perfect song to end this film with, because really, that's all this film had to offer. References to the first film. Even the end credits scene is nothing but a reference to the OG. All of this just culminates in a 5 out of 10 experience. And I would not ever recommend this film to anyone, especially people who love the first Moana. And I kind of feel bad for saying that this film is so bad, because The skeleton for a good story is there. It's just that because Disney tried to force this to be a series instead of a film, it was lacking a lot of meat. And for God's sake, I hope they don't make a Moana 3. Because if this is what we can expect from Moana sequels, yeah, dude, just leave it here. The story of Moana does not need to continue. But yeah, how do I know? I'm just some random teenager on the internet. But as always, if you didn't like what I had to say, got a brilliant suggestion for you. Make your own video. Cheers!